Each Christmas, at least all the earliest ones I can remember, always involved getting Transformers from Santa Claus. Probably the most memorable one was the Christmas I opened up Fortress Maximus. I was so thrilled and couldn't hug my parents hard enough for putting in whatever good word they did with old Saint Nick, or however Fort Max came my way. Honestly, I was really lucky as a kid. All those Christmases and birthdays are filled with memories of getting the Double Spy, Shockwave, Cyclonus the Warrior, a few Throttlebots here and there, and that one time I got all the Technobots. Oh man. My big brother got a bunch too for those special occasions, like when he got the Terrorcons, or the Christmas he found Galvatron under the tree. On one of his birthdays, or maybe it was Christmas, I don't know, I was like 5 years old, he'd asked for Skyfire, and I was so excited, because Skyfire was one of my favorite guys on the cartoon. I mean, an Autobot jet? And he was so big and cool. But when we got him in hand, his name was Jetfire, and he looked like those transforming planes on Robotech, not Transformers. Like I said, I was about 5 years old at the time, and even though I'd surely seen Jetfire in the toy catalog, it didn't make a lot of sense. But when you're 5, not much does yet. You just kinda go with it. But you are learning as you go along, from stories as much as schooling. And when it came to Transformers, there were 2 very influential stories that helped shape me as a person. That taught me lessons of goodness, of self-sacrifice, of doing the right thing, no matter the cost. One of these stories I wouldn't come across until I learned to read around this time, and quite frankly, even now in my 40s, I still mourn the treatment and ultimate fate of the Autobot Scrounge. There was this one episode of the TV show that always stuck with me for many reasons. One I always went back to. For a few years, before we could own the entire cartoon series on DVD, and certainly before you could pull any of them up on YouTube anytime you wanted, you'd be lucky to find some odd assortment of episodes at your local video rental store. Ours had the original cartoon pilot miniseries, More Than Meets the Eye, and SOS Dinobots. But the one I used to love getting quite often was Fire in the Sky. Maybe it's the look of this one, the overall tone, or the chosen cast of characters involved in this adventure. But I think, more than anything, it's the character arc of Skyfire and what he taught me as a child that made this one always stick out in my mind. And as a special treat this Christmas, I'd like to take a moment to look at Fire in the Sky and really get into here's why it's cool. It wasn't unusual to open up the first bunch of episodes of this beloved cartoon by showing us the Autobots base in its iconic location inside a volcano. But this was the one and only time we saw it in winter. The Autobots' young human friend, Spike, is out enjoying the amazing winter wonderland outside the base as he stumbles upon maybe the largest snowman he's ever seen.
Wow, that's the biggest snowman I ever saw.
Not snowman, Spike, snowbot. There's a flurry in a hurry.
Thanks, Jazz. I get the drift.
It seems to me that Spike was being rather playful, and only feigns surprise when this snow jazz starts to move. The Autobots of the Ark always seem to find no end of marvel at the wonders of planet Earth, and Spike was ever more than happy to show it all to them. It seems evident that he was out showing them all the fun one could have with a snowball fight, as he commands the other Autobots to fire their spheroid projectiles at Jazz, who easily evades them, only to face other unseen consequences of their attack.
Hey guys, that's Snow Fair!
Little Bumblebee attempts to make the biggest snowball yet, while Spike warns Ratchet to watch out for the pint-sized yellow scout. Since Spike tattled on him, Bumblebee fires his spheroid projectile at Spike instead, nailing him right in the face. Spike rolls downhill, becoming himself a snowball big enough to take out the group of Autobots below, tumbling end over end until they break apart, sending Cliffjumper into an unseasonably green tree, not to mention Hound, whose slide is stopped by a cactus of all things. It's our first clue that something is off about all of this snow. As we remember, the Autobots' base is located in a much warmer climate that really shouldn't even see any snow. Spike confirms our suspicions.
I can't believe I'm in a snowball fight in July in the middle of the desert. It's amazing.
And perhaps dangerous.
Optimus was ever wary of any event that seemed out of the ordinary, knowing any disruption in the balance of this world definitely signaled the meddling of the Decepticons. He has the ship's computer, Teletran-1, analyze this recent strange weather pattern, and it is determined that this is a global phenomenon, with temperatures around the globe dropping drastically. Optimus and Gears corroborate and verify the extensiveness of this climate change, and Optimus is sure this is the work of Megatron.
The Decepticons have won!
Meanwhile, far to the north, in the Arctic regions of the Earth, an explosion occurs, revealing a beautiful green crystal protruding from beneath the frozen tundra. Skywarp issues orders to connect some sort of pipeline contraption brought forth by one of Reflector's units. He jams it into the crystal, and immediately we see it drawing energy that leads to a Decepticon device, converting the energy into energon cubes. Starscream reports to Megatron, informing him that since they located this crystal shaft connected to the Earth's core, pulling the heat energy from this planet is a simple matter.
Soon this entire planet will freeze into an icy tomb, and we will return to Cybertron with enough energon cubes to dominate the universe.
Megatron would love nothing more than to revitalize his homeworld and see he and his entire race take their place as the rulers of the galaxy. And he cares not how many other worlds or peoples he must sacrifice to achieve this megalomaniacal goal. In another cavern, Rumble was busting his way deeper into the permafrost, but was stuck on a particularly stubborn thick chunk. Skywarp couldn't resist taunting Rumble, who, while being small for a Decepticon, never shied away from showing just how tough he really is. He slams his pile drivers into the icy wall, knocking Skywarp off his feet. But it seems Rumble has bitten off more than he could chew. That thick deposit of ice had given way, threatening to bury the Decepticons, and it nearly succeeds. As Rumble pops out of it all, He's surprised to see something shiny popping out of the permafrost. Something that appeared to be metal and Cybertronian. Starscream comes by to chastise his subordinates and keep them on task as they draw his attention to their discovery. A discovery that sparks an ancient memory in Starscream. Megatron follows closely behind, curious at what this discovery is, and notices Starscream's personal astonishment of it. He bids Starscream to help them get a closer look, and after Starscream carefully, delicately melts away much more ice with his lasers, they find this buried treasure is indeed a very large and powerful-looking Transformer.
With his size and probable strength, he will make an excellent Decepticon.
Back at the Ark, Teletran 1 has compiled the information gathered from its Sky Spy's investigation as the Autobots gather for its analysis. Now, I know it's a small thing, but I appreciate that Optimus Prime himself is at a terminal. Not putting himself above his men, he's just one of them, a guy at a desk getting the work done that needs doing.
What's that weird light the Sky Spy just passed over?
Heat loss at optimum level.
Then we found the source of Earth's problem.
Maybe some kind of natural phenomenon.
Decepticon activity sighted.
If we don't stop Megatron and his bunch, the Earth is doomed. Autobots, transform and roll out!
Arctic Circle, here we come!
That last line of Spike's kind of confused me as a kid, just because when I was growing up, we had a local restaurant called Arctic Circle. So I thought that Spike and the Autobots were going to stop and get fast food on their way to battle the Decepticons. In any case, it's a cool shot to see Spike and his dad riding together in the cab of Optimus Prime, heading off on another adventure. We find the Decepticons having fashioned a makeshift repair bay to restore this newly found Cybertronian, who, we can already tell, is massive compared to the other Decepticons, whom we already know are gigantic themselves compared to humans, making this one that much more intimidating. Thundercracker is amazed how well preserved it is, commenting on how the ice kept it from deterioration. But Skywarp notices that although the relays and gyros are all in good working order, this being's impulse centers are down, making him essentially brain dead. As Starscream orders several thousand volts be used to jumpstart it, Megatron is fascinated by Starscream's seemingly very personal interest in this being's recovery. Such concern was rare for a Decepticon, and almost non-existent for Starscream.
Starscream, why are you so concerned about this creature?
Because I knew him once, a long time ago on Cybertron. Again, this time 1,000,000 volts. Memory monitor activating.
You knew him?
His name is Skyfire. Observe his history as it was recorded before his icy imprisonment. Skyfire and I were both explorers from Cybertron.
That must have been shortly before our final falling out with the Autobots.
Yes, Skyfire and I were exploring what was an uncharted planet at that time. This one, Earth. We detected no intelligent life on the surface, but Skyfire insisted we look closer. A polar windstorm came up suddenly, and Skyfire and I were separated. I circled half the globe searching for him, but he was gone.
And now, millions of Earth years later, you have found him.
At this time in the show, the idea that all of these characters had a life before this great war, that any of them were anything other than soldiers and fighters, was an intriguing and new idea. None more so than the ambitious and treacherous Starscream, thinking of him being an explorer, a scientist, anything other than a warmongering psychopath really gave a new depth to his character, and, by association, did so for every other character in the show. We hear this new, large Cybertronian groan as he comes online, his memory circuits restored, recognizing his old friend Starscream as his consciousness returns.
What happened? Starscream. It's you. You have rescued me. But where am I? This is not Cybertron.
No, this is Earth, where you crashed many years ago.
There's a pettiness in the way Starscream delivers that line, almost like he's making fun of Skyfire, but only in the way that one might give a hard time to another close friend. Yet Megatron is eager to introduce himself to Skyfire, shoving Starscream out of the way as he approaches this tall and mighty new ally.
I am Megatron, Skyfire, supreme leader of all Decepticons. We are on this planet to collect the energy we need to revive Cybertron and conquer the universe. And the Autobots are now our enemies.
Megatron wastes no time in establishing himself as the supreme leader, and quickly informs him of their grand purpose on this new world, to gather energy for their homeworld. But also lets Skyfire know very quickly that the Autobots are their enemies, are Skyfire's enemies, standing in the way of the Decepticon cause. Skyfire listens intently and certainly feels a duty to help his home planet, as he is told it has been ravaged by endless war for eons. But to go from being an exploratory scientist to a conscripted soldier doesn't exactly sit well with his regulator assemblies. However, if this was the duty fate had called him to for his people, he would follow his friend Starscream's example and also become a Decepticon.
And with this symbol, you, Skyfire, become a member of the exalted Decepticon forces. Hail Cybertron!
Hail, Cybertron!
And destruction to all Autobots!
Destruction.
It's apparent that Skyfire is acutely aware of the inevitable end all wars lead to, no matter if you were on the winning side or not. But he puts his trust in his old comrade, looking to him to help settle this foreboding feeling deep within his core.
Put him on guard patrol.
Are you happier being a warrior than a scientist, Starscream?
Yes, it is far more exciting. And one day I, not Megatron, will lead us. And then you will be my second in command.
I am grateful to you for freeing me from my tomb of ice. I shall try to bring you credit.
There was no way Skyfire didn't notice the tone of an opportunist in Starscream's voice, seeing the first hints that his friend had changed in the last several millennia. But perhaps that was just the universe they lived in now. And it was a show of their continued bond that Starscream intended to make Skyfire his second in command. He had stuck his neck out and reputation already for Skyfire. Performing his duty well was the least Skyfire could do to not let his old friend down as he began his new role by patrolling the area. The Autobots close in on their destination far to the north, giving Spike a chance to show Optimus and the others one of the great natural wonders of the Earth.
There they are, Optimus. Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights. Aren't they terrific?
Indeed. Very pleasing to my optic sensors. Forward, Autobots!
They expected a Decepticon attack could come at any moment, but they couldn't have expected what they encountered next. Skyfire was at least enjoying the natural beauty of this new planet, inspecting his surroundings as much as he was keeping an eye out for intruders. His scanners alerted him to movement within his perimeter as he optically closed in on mechanical prowlers that could simply be native to this world. But as no infiltrator could be allowed, Skyfire reluctantly took up a firing position as he determined what these incoming vehicles were up to.
Something's approaching from the south. Several unusual vehicles. Earth mechanisms, perhaps. It seems the time has come for me to make the change from science to war.
We are near the location of the energy drain.
Prime, what is that?
It was no Decepticon they recognized, but it didn't seem welcoming. Optimus moved in for a closer look. Whoever this was, they hadn't immediately fired, and Prime wanted to determine if this was a friend or a foe.
Halt! Identify yourselves!
Autobots, transform!
Autobots. You must be destroyed!
The Transformers will return after these messages. We now return to the Transformers.
Destruction to all Autobots!
Skyfire had his orders. The Decepticon cause was paramount, and the Autobot interlopers must be stopped. He unleashes a barrage of fire at the Autobots, causing them to scatter, especially Spike and Sparkplug, who already knew firsthand how hairy things can quickly get. Spike hits a bad patch of ice, sliding into some nearby freezing water. Alarmed, Sparkplug is able to quickly get to his son and pull him out of the water, but Skyfire's continued assault on the other Autobots causes collateral damage to the surrounding ice, trapping the two humans. Spike wants to jump the distance, but his father stops him, knowing only the Autobots have a chance of reaching them now. Cliffjumper and Hound hear their friends yell for help, but they're pinned down by this giant new Decepticon firing at them. This Decepticon also hears these earthen animals crying out, and it piques his scientific curiosity.
We can't move while that big guy's got us pinned down.
Strange voices. Must be coming from Earth creatures. We'll try to communicate with them.
Keep your big mitts off of me!
Let go of us, please!
Help! Optimus Prime!
Why are you so frightened? I will not harm you.
Then why are you wearing the Decepticon symbol?
Only the evil Autobots need fear me.
The Autobots are not evil, they're good. They're fighting to protect our planet and all us humans.
He's right. You Decepticons are the real monsters.
No, that can't be true. I'll prove we are not evil. I'll take you to Megatron, my leader. He'll show you that you have nothing to fear.
One can only imagine the chill sent through Spike and Sparkplug at the mention of facing Megatron. A coldness far more icy than the water they'd barely escaped. Also, quickly, anyone else think Skyfire's gun in this shot looks oddly familiar? Anyway, of course the Autobots would love nothing more than to save their human allies, but Optimus hesitates, calling off his troops.
No, you might hit Spike and Sparkplug. We've got to find a safer way to rescue them. If there is one.
Skyfire had taken the Earth creatures to Megatron, but already seemed upset at the treatment they were receiving from him in this icy chamber that served as a makeshift brig, too small for Skyfire's large form to squeeze into. Megatron was pleased at the seizure of these humans he recognized as the Autobots' Terran compatriots. Skyfire must have been especially upset to watch his friend Starscream as he roughly tosses the humans, sliding them into a wall and then aiming his weapon at them, making the poor humans fear they were about to be incinerated. Starscream clearly did it just to see that look on their faces and toy with them before melting the cavern ceiling, causing a stream to freeze into bars, creating a cell to hold these Autobot sympathizers prisoner in. The humans express faith that they're Autobot friends, that Optimus Prime himself will surely come to save them. All of this is concerning to Skyfire, as he sees his Decepticon allies handle prisoners of war so roughly, as he hears these helpless beings speak of trust and friendship in what were supposed to be evil Autobots. But most of all, Skyfire felt responsible for these creatures. After all, he'd given them his word.
I promised the Earth creatures no harm would come to them. This is wrong.
Then you overstepped your authority.
Who are you to offer safety to our enemies, Skyfire?
It was becoming clear to Skyfire the totalitarianism he'd signed up for, the trust that was being broken. As he reaches in to help the humans, to make good his promise to them, Starscream blasts Skyfire's hand, like a mother swatting a child's hand with a spoon. Starscream bids Skyfire not to worry about these humans, admitting that once they've ceased their usefulness, they will be terminated. Skyfire sees the alarm on the faces of these tiny Earth beings, and he knows deep within his logic circuits, every code and function in him, in his very spark, that this is wrong.
Function is to further science and learning, not to destroy innocent life forms.
While the Decepticons handle their new prisoners and try to correct Skyfire in his archaic and weak-minded way of thinking, the Autobots have sneaked ever closer to the Decepticon hideout. Optimus orders the others to transform and head into these underground caverns. And in a rare move, he leaves his trailer behind, knowing it probably won't maneuver well down there. Before half the team can make it through the entrance, Gear's sensors detect trouble, causing him to hesitate, just long enough for the ice to crumble beneath him, Hound, Ratchet, and Ironhide.
What's wrong, Gears? Move it! I got a tingle in my sensor links, like we might be falling right into a trap. Ironhide's carrying too much lead in his caboose. This freezing weather's icing my relays.
Optimus and the others wait a while for their comrades, but decide to keep moving without them when they hear the voice of Spike crying out for help. Cliffjumper doesn't even hesitate a nanosecond, shifting into action as he races to the rescue, Optimus warning him to be cautious.
Cliffjumper!
Are we glad to see you? Hang on! I'll have you out fast. Lucky for you, my laser has a defrost cycle.
Ah, great! Now let's find Ironhide and the rest of the guys.
The rest of the guys were making their way through the caves when they stumble on the Decepticon energy harvesting operation, confirming Prime's suspicions of what the cons were doing, draining the Earth's heat energy from its core. And a massive amount, too, by the looks of that pile of energon cubes. Just as Megatron comes into gloat over his stockpile, and Starscream looks forward to returning to Cybertron with all this energy, leaving behind an icy planet of death. One wonders if their whole conversation here wasn't a distraction, a diversion for these foolish Autobots to listen in on while the Decepticons surrounded them all.
Then we'll soon return to Cybertron and leave this dead planet of ice behind us?
Yes, Starscream. Unless we are foolish enough to be careless. Seize those Autobots! Dispose of them immediately!
With pleasure, Megatron.
Megatron orders Soundwave to scan for more intruders, and Soundwave dispatches Ravage to hunt down anything their sensors might miss. It doesn't take Ravage long to start zeroing in on a very vocal group of Autobots nearby. As Jazz and Bumblebee complain about how they still haven't found their comrades, wondering if they should split up, Optimus tells them all to stick together. But of course, Cliffjumper doesn't listen, or look before he leaps. He basically runs right into Ravage, and Spike is especially worried because where Ravage lurks, other Decepticons aren't far behind.
Ravage! Autobots, transform! I'll deal with him. Forget Ravage! Go!
That's what I call stopping him cold.
One Decepticon down and a whole mess to go.
At least two of those Decepticons currently had other priorities. Priorities concerning the other Autobots they'd already captured. Clearly, Starscream saw a chance to teach Skyfire a lesson. A chance to prove his friendship to Starscream, as well as his dedication to the Decepticon cause. Skyfire couldn't believe it had come to this. Executing prisoners? Prisoners guilty only of trying to save their tiny fleshling allies, as far as Skyfire was concerned. If this was war, was being a soldier, he wanted nothing of it. Although Starscream hoped his old friend had the good sense to fall in line, he knew he needed him to prove he would, and this was the perfect opportunity. The Decepticon Way.
I'm a scientist, not an executioner.
I am your superior. I order you to terminate them.
If Starscream thought pulling rank on Skyfire would work in this case, he was incorrect, and only succeeded in cementing Skyfire's view that, whatever the Decepticon cause was, the Decepticon Way, it could not be his cause, his way.
No, I will not. They have done no wrong.
But you have, traitor!
Why, you miserable machine.
I shall enjoy this.
Starscream not only blasts at the Autobots, but the energized crystals behind them, causing an explosion that decimates and destroys the Autobots, blowing them to bits. Starscream laughs with glee at the destruction he has wrought, lording it over the wounded Skyfire, before mocking him, stepping right over him as he leaves him to squirm, lying in pain. As soon as Starscream is gone, we see the pieces of the Autobots fade as they themselves appear, no worse for wear.
I saw him destroy you.
An illusion, Skyfire. You and Starscream saw one of Hound's holograms.
Then you are functioning. Good.
Yeah, we're functioning. I sure hope we'll be able to say the same for you.
It's heartwarming to see Skyfire, even while damaged and in pain, only show concern for the Autobots and their well-being before passing out. Hound and the rest know a good spark when they see one, and surely appreciate the fact that this Decepticon refused to execute them even under Starscream's orders. This Skyfire deserved better, deserved the same chance he'd just given the Autobots. And there was no way Ratchet was going to let Skyfire succumb to his injuries.
Let's get him behind some cover and start working.
How is Skyfire, Ratchet?
Not good. He was badly damaged.
I don't get it. Why repair a Decepticon? He tried to save us.
And Starscream blasted him for it! Well, that's all I can do. Now it's a matter of time and luck.
It was only a matter of time before Optimus, Jazz, and the rest found the others. It's just too bad that the ever-watchful Laserbeak had also found them all. He relays these findings directly to Megatron in a coded message. And I love that Megatron is simply marveling at an Energon Cube and the promise of it, until Laserbeak's findings sour his mood.
You disgust me! You failed to terminate the Autobots! Laserbeak has informed me they are still functional!
Hound's holograms! They tricked me!
Hound actually plays this exact trick on the Decepticons, like, a lot. And honestly, Starscream should have known better, which just adds to the pile of examples of his own incompetence. Megatron promises they will not be fooled by such trickery again, and orders his Decepticons to prepare for attack. Starscream and his Seekers transform and rise up, and it doesn't take long to spot the Autobots below, where Laserbeak had found them. Their attack is fierce as the Autobots head for cover away from the bombardment, but Ratchet won't leave his patient's side, attempting to rouse the fallen Decepticon whom he'd attempted to repair. But a direct shot from, probably Starscream, knocks Ratchet back, yet Skyfire stirs. The other Autobots return fire as Optimus Prime makes his move.
Time for reinforcements.
He calls in his trailer for support, and as he takes up position, his combat deck emerges, firing a shot which nails Skywarp, whose stabilizer is compromised, causing him to go down and take Thundercracker with him. Great shot, Prime. Yet Optimus can't sit idly by as he sees his fellow Autobots in trouble.
Bumblebee, your left flank! Hound, duck! Not close enough, Megatron.
Interesting choice of weapons, Optimus, but futile.
This is one of the most memorable Optimus vs. Megatron fights to me. I love that they use the very MacGuffin of this episode, this fantastical green crystal, turning their duel into a sword fight. Optimus swings at Megatron, knocking his fusion cannon off. Remember, when fighting Megatron, always go for the cannon arm first. And the way Megatron rubs his arm after that initial strike lets you know these crystals are lethal. As he grabs his own melee weapon from the crystal, Megatron slashes at Prime's face, and as he swings again, they become locked in a grapple, which leads to one of the strangest and coolest moves Megatron does in the whole series. Flipping over Prime as his pelvis clicks a 180 around, and clicks back after he lands, bashing Optimus Prime to the ground. But as he leaps to finish Prime off, Optimus rapidly spins his wrist joint around, turning his gleaming green crystal sword into a buzzsaw that shatters Megatron's own weapon. Optimus raises his sword at Megatron as if to say en garde, as a frustrated Megatron is not ready to concede defeat.
Well done, Optimus. What a pity you've lost, Skyfire.
From behind Optimus, we see the huge, looming figure of Skyfire, Decepticon badge gleaming in the wintry twilight, approach, catching Optimus Prime off guard, who finds himself trapped between this intimidating figure and Megatron. Megatron commands Skyfire to finish off Optimus and the rest. But Skyfire has seen the treachery of the Decepticons, the ambitions of Megatron and Starscream, and the heroism, care, and camaraderie of the Autobots. If his people were truly destined to be at war, if the line was drawn and Skyfire must pick a side, he knew which side followed his own conviction, which side he would now fight for.
Destroy Optimus Prime! Crush him and all the Autobots once and for all!
I take no orders from you. I am an Autobot now.
This moment was a big deal as a kid. To see one of these characters, cybernetic beings locked in a war for millions of years, actually switch sides. Be convinced to sacrifice their old loyalties to follow a more noble path, to do the right thing. We couldn't help but cheer, watching this big, cool Decepticon announce that from now on, he would fight for the Autobots. But this battle was far from over, and now as Skyfire enters the fray, he marches right up to Supreme Leader Megatron, picks him up like a rag doll, and tosses him into a chunk of ice, breaking it. Well, if this guy thought he was so big and tough, the 3 components of Reflector would just have to match that size. But they could never match his strength, as Skyfire easily knocks them over. As they crumble, Skyfire hears the challenging call of his oldest friend, now former comrade, Starscream.
Through, Skyfire!
You forget, Starscream! I can transform too! Time to even the score, friend!
Spike and Sparkplug cheer Skyfire on, relieved to see this Cybertronian who captured them earlier, but shown such compassion, make the right choice and help defend the Earth from the Decepticons. And we continue to cheer right alongside them.
Melt them in the burners, Skyfire!
Take him apart!
Where are you, traitor? Show yourself!
Here I am!
You shall pay for your treachery!
They're gonna crash!
It's great to see Skyfire pay back Starscream and put him in his place. And as the Autobots all hurrah for Skyfire's victory, it's Ratchet who is the first to spot that this duel has taken a toll on their new friend. Skyfire was struggling, damaged not only from his joust with Starscream, but still internally damaged from being shot by him before. Transforming and flying were a huge strain on him after millions of years in the ice. But he had to stop the Decepticons from taking more energy from this marvelous world, and would do so with his last ounce of strength.
Skyfire's losing altitude! What's he doing?
He should try to land!
Just one last blast!
Skyfire! No!
The mix of permafrost and crystal debris bury not only the Decepticon energy operation, but Skyfire as well, under thousands of tons of material, while the Autobots and Spike watch helplessly. They gather around the patch of ground, still glowing with residual energy from the broken crystals underneath, almost like a monument to this fallen hero, a being who had given everything to beat the Decepticons and retain freedom for the Earth and the universe.
He risked everything to save us and the Earth.
The energy drain has been stopped.
The Earth will heat up again.
And the Decepticons are defeated.
But Skyfire is gone.
To think that the Autobots had been through such mourning many, many times throughout their endless war, having lost many comrades over the eons, it always struck me that this is how they handle it. Remembering the deeds of their fallen friends, recounting the good those deeds did. But Spike was young. He had yet to experience so much tragedy, and he was taking the loss of this new hero, his new friend, very hard. But Optimus Prime was there, with words of comfort and reassurance, as always.
But Skyfire is gone.
He won't be forgotten, Spike. He will live forever, so long as freedom exists.
And then, in this moment, we get a glimpse of what feels like an Autobot tradition that has long remained vividly in my head. As Optimus kneels at the resting place of a noble warrior, it feels like an almost ceremonious moment, as Optimus leads his troops in such a simple, sweet, and beautiful creed, while they hail this honorable Decepticon turned Autobot.
We shall remember you, Skyfire.
We shall remember. It's a touching scene and a wonderful sentiment that can still bring a tear to my eye. This episode is one I can watch again and again and always feel inspired. I've never forgotten the lessons it taught me about friendship, redemption, kindness, and doing the right thing no matter what. Skyfire only wanted to be a scientist and an explorer, and his friendship with the more ambitious, even devious Starscream put him in a position of just wanting to help his friend's cause. But the more he saw how toxic and conniving that friend and his cause was, Skyfire was brave enough to hold true to his integrity, to make the right choice, and to stand up against the tyranny of his former allies, even if it meant his own end. I've always tried to follow that example, as much as I try to follow the example of Optimus. And I hope that this Christmas, and as we begin the new year ahead, we can all remember to do the right thing, make the right choices against oppression, scheming, and hurtful actions, even if we must stand up to our own friends to do so. I hope that we might all be more like Skyfire and help put off evil, that we might bring more goodness into this world. Now, I'm happy to report that, even as impactful as this ending is, Skyfire would return, which does somewhat fit our Christmas theme here, or maybe I'm thinking of Easter. Yeah, but in any case, it's brushed over a little too quickly in the series, but it seems that the heat energy that the crystals channeled from the Earth may have helped Skyfire stay functional, enough to let his own auto repair systems work their magic on him. I'd always assumed that upon returning to base, the story of Skyfire was told to all, and it probably piqued the curiosity of Wheeljack. He also might have known Skyfire from their days on Cybertron eons ago, and he must have scanned the area and either detected or at least theorized the possibility that Skyfire must still be alive. So, Wheeljack grabbed another Autobot with not only a rocket pack to help them fly to the North Pole quickly, but was also an expert digger with his pile drivers, Sideswipe. Together, they'd rescue our good friend Skyfire from the ice once more. And he'd go on to have many more adventures with the Autobots as they waged their battle to destroy the evil forces of the Decepticons.
Can anyone join the party, or do we need an invitation?
You will not interfere!
You guys move out. I'll join you after I do a little house cleaning here.
Roger. Jump in, Spike. Start then! Alert! Autobots escaping. You cannot get out!
I can now!
But still, this story of Fire in the Sky always stood unique among all the other G1 Transformers episodes. And I hope I've been able to help you all see a little more reason to think, here's why it's cool.